To start out, this hack involves holding the nut in place for long enough to line it up with the bolts. A piece of double-sided tape should do the trick. It's hard to hammer out these nails when the board keeps moving. Try hammering it through this hole in the plywood. To mark even lines on pipes and tubing, attach a metal to the side of this marker. Here's a quick way to make a DIY funnel. Simply attach a PVC pipe to the top half of a plastic bottle. If you can't decide between screws or nails, screws don't have the shear strength that nails have, so in this case, nails will be the better option. Here's a great way to store your chainsaw. Slice open some foam tubing, then wrap it around the chainsaw chain and secure it with some tape. Here's a little close-up of an interesting way to solder two wires together. Next, we'll build a flashlight using this rechargeable 12-volt drill battery. First, we'll cut out a slot for the on and off switch. Then we'll attach these disconnects to the LED wires and crimp them with a crimping tool. Drill a hole into the top of the flashlight and pass the LED wires through the hole. The wires should be able to reach the slot. Attach the on and off switch and press the switch into the slot. Attach the other ends of the wire to the battery. Now we just plug in the LED bulb. Let's take a look at some different types of anchors and how they actually anchor themselves into the wall from the other side. Here's a life hack that works on cheap locks. Slap the side of the lock with a magnet to release the latch and open the lock. If we fold over this nail with a pair of pliers and then repeat it a few times, we can make this beautiful piece of art. Although it's easy enough to make a straight line using a ruler, it's almost impossible to make a straight cut without using a guide. So let's make a guide for our jigsaw. Make a straight line across a board and mark the center of where the jigsaw blade is. Now drill a 1-inch hole centered on that mark. Cut the board in half along the straight line. And to make sure the edge is straight, we can plane off this inner edge. Remove the two bolts from one side of the jigsaw and lay down some double-sided tape. Lay the larger piece of board so that the smaller board can be lined up on the tape. Now we can drill holes into the board where the screws would go. Remove the board and drill larger holes for the longer screws. Now we'll screw the board into the bottom of the jigsaw and reinsert the blade. Next, we'll draw our line and clamp a board with its edge lined up to the mark. Now we have a guide that cuts right on the line every time. Here we have some old clippers. We can sharpen them by sliding a piece of fine grit sandpaper between the two blades. Turn on the clippers and move the sandpaper around to bring the blades back to their former sharpness. When sanding, sawdust can gather in corners and edges. To prevent this, we can place a drywall knife along the edge as we sand. Drilling holes directly into metal like this can leave a rough and uneven hole. By placing the metal sheet between two pieces of wood, drilling becomes much easier and neater. Sometimes our PVC pipe doesn't match the fitting. We can use this socket fusion tool to connect these pieces together. We'll use this for our selfie stick. Drill some screws into a small board so that your phone can slide in and out. Then mount a PVC clip onto the back. Now we can mount 2 more clips into the wall and attach our selfie stick. And if your camera isn't mounting to the wall like it should, you can rub some fresh garlic to the inside of the suction cup. Using electrical tape to keep this switch turned off isn't sufficient. Instead, we'll use the handles from this binder clip. To more easily install snow chains, we can use a brick. Lay out the chains with a brick placed in the center and then drive onto the brick. Connect the chains and then drive off. We don't want to strip this screw, so we can use double-sided tape onto our drill bit to get better grip. Before getting started painting, it might be a good idea to wrap masking tape around the brush to keep it clean. Then when we're finished, we can remove the masking tape. By heating up this nut and bolt, we can press it into this fitting and flatten the other side. Now we can tighten this nut with our bare hands. Wood clamps can also act as an excellent marking gauge. A nail can be used to mark the center of this board to cut out larger holes. We can shave out a small notch in our pliers to help us attach rivets. Place a bearing, binder clip, and another bearing onto this bolt. Then we'll place our utility knife into this binder clip. We've successfully built a little guide for our utility knife. If we install these wire clips, with the clips facing the opposite direction, these can act as clips for our drill bits. When wrapping 2 wires together, here's a good way to do it. Fold one of the wires back on itself, and then the other wire will pass through the bend and around the folded wire. This gives us a nice and secure wrap. We want to cut this plastic trim in such a way that it wraps around the post. To do this, we'll first mark out the width of the trim around the post. Then, we'll cut out triangles to the inner sides of the trim. We'll do this for each corner. Now our trim wraps around the post. We can fit baseboards at odd angles with just a bit of tracing. We can use a smaller piece to mark out all the corners. Now we'll just connect the inner corners to the outer corners. Here's another life hack to prevent electrical switches from being turned on. Pass a wire through the switch like so. And if it makes you feel better, you can tie the ends in a knot and put a padlock on the end. For our next project, we'll be making a mechanical arm that helps us use our angle grinder. We'll start by attaching these metal frames together with a bolt. Then we'll weld together a clip that will go around the frames and attach it to the angle grinder. We'll attach these 2 metal brackets to the clip that will hold the angle grinder. Next, we'll mount the metal frames to this large board, and then mount the board itself to our workbench. Now our new tool will help us make cuts with our angle grinder. And our last project for this episode is going to be a quick way to make very rough dowels. We'll start by drilling a hole that's a bit bigger than the size of the dowel that we want into a block of wood. Then we'll use our table saw to make a cut to the bottom of that hole. Next, we'll attach a wood screw into our drill and then drill the screw into our dowel. Now we can pass the dowel through the hole while drilling to create a dowel. It should end up looking something like this.